24-year-old to building an AI venture studio that pulls in $100 million a year. Honestly, it sounds like a movie, right? But that's the actual real-life story of entrepreneur Dan Martell. And here is the craziest part. When he looks back at that massive journey, he doesn't credit his success to coding or hustling harder or some secret tech trick. He credits it to something entirely unexpected, one very specific master skill.
So I gotta ask you, what do you think is the single most important skill for 2026? Seriously, just think about it for a second. With the world changing as incredibly fast as it is right now, what is the one competency you would literally bet your entire future on? The one thing guaranteed to lock in your success and actually make you more money this year?
I know, usually our minds immediately jump to things like AI, right? Or mastering sales, or growth marketing. And don't get me wrong, those are incredibly important. But the real heavyweight here, the actual game changer, it's relationships. The bold claim from our source material today is that intentional relationship building is the ultimate form of leverage. It's a skill that if you truly master it, is going to yield far, far higher returns and open way more daily opportunities than just getting really good at writing code, closing deals, or running Facebook ads ever could.
To understand exactly how to harness this, we're going to break this playbook down into 5 core parts. The ultimate master skill, how steel sharpens steel, raising your invisible ceiling, the new era of networking, and finally, investing in serendipity.
Okay, part 1, the ultimate master skill. We really need to stop treating relationships as just some soft skill and realize they actually compound across literally everything you are already building.
Moving right into part 2, steel sharpens steel. This is all about finding and cultivating relationships where you mutually learn and uniquely contribute.
Now, steel sharpens steel isn't just about casually hanging out and grabbing a coffee with your friends. It's a very specific dynamic where peers mutually coach and challenge each other. It literally multiplies your skills and your money-making potential. Our source shares this incredible anecdote about a creator named Taki Moore. So 8 years ago, Dan brought Taki in to help formulate his brand's framing, things like IP and how to handle YouTube. Taki was the absolute expert. But here's the magic of this dynamic. Jump forward to 2 years ago, and Taki actually hired Dan to coach him. I mean, that is the pure essence of steel sharpening steel. 2 peers constantly bantering, challenging each other, and just consistently leveling each other up.
And look, it absolutely pays to be highly intentional about this. Dan watched his good friend Lewis Howes purposefully build his School of Greatness brand over the course of 15 long years. Lewis didn't achieve his massive success just by miraculously waking up as the smartest guy in the room, right? He did it by carefully and deliberately choosing exactly who he was learning from. He was one of the very first people over a decade ago to hire professional photographers for his website because he was looking at the right people and taking intentional action to elevate his brand. You can't just wait for it. You have to actively build your circle.
Which leads us perfectly into part 3, raising your invisible ceiling. This is about stepping away from the wrong crowd and deliberately placing yourself in high-level rooms. There's a realization here that honestly blew my mind. Most people aren't surrounded by bad people. They're surrounded by limited people. Just let that sink in for a second. The people around you are setting the invisible ceiling on what feels normal. If everyone in your circle thinks that making a $200,000 income is absolutely crushing it, then guess what? 200 grand is going to feel like the ultimate peak of human achievement. You are literally capping your own potential simply by adapting to the expectations of the limited room you happen to be sitting in.
Let's put this into perspective with the number 12. Just keep that number in the back of your mind as I set this scene. Dan was at this exclusive high-roller meetup in Dallas, Texas. It was held in this awesome warehouse filled with literally millions of dollars worth of supercars. The room was absolutely packed with highly motivated, driven CEOs and high performers who, for sure, did not feel limited. And right there, hanging out at the very end of the event, was a 12-year-old boy.
His name was Joseph, and this kid was completely optimizing his proximity. This 12-year-old walked right up and started casually asking high-level AI and business questions to a room full of millionaires. He was literally asking them what he should focus on for the next 12 months. And the massive takeaway here is that it absolutely does not matter what age you are. Young Joseph proved that just placing yourself in a self-selecting, driven room immediately raises your ceiling. The simple fact that he was there, confidently asking the right questions, meant he was already winning. I guarantee you every single adult in that room was standing there wondering why they hadn't done the exact same thing when they were his age.
All right, part 4, the new era of networking. We are shifting entirely from outbound effort over to inbound gravity.
So, there is a stark night and day difference between the old way and the new way. Old networking is all that stuff we completely dread, right? Sending out hundreds of cold emails, going to awkward mixer events, asking if you can pick someone's brain. It's incredibly slow. It feels like exhausting work. You waste a ton of time, and honestly, the worst part is it does not scale. New networking flips this entire concept on its head. This is where you create content, you add massive value up front, and you let the relationships and the opportunities come to you. Actually, think of it like this. Your platform acts as an engine that literally networks for you while you are fast asleep.
And I promise you, this isn't just some nice theory. Dan experienced this firsthand in some pretty wild ways. Remember that trip to Dallas I just mentioned? Well, before he went, he got an Instagram DM from a supercar dealership owner named Chris who had been watching his content. Chris just straight up offered to pick him up from the airport. Dan jokingly replied, asking for a Rolls-Royce with a mandarin orange interior. And no joke, Chris literally rolled up onto the airport tarmac in that exact car to get him. Or take legendary entrepreneur Rob Dyrdek. Dan had actually put Rob on his personal goals list of people he wanted to meet. Well, because Rob had read Dan's book on time management and software, Rob texted Dan completely out of the blue to connect. The content completely flipped the script. Instead of Dan chasing them down, they came to him.
Which brings us to our final piece, Part 5, Investing in Serendipity. This is where you actively start putting your time and your money behind your connections. So how do you actually execute this? It's simple. You buy the plane ticket, you show up for the event, and you host the dinner. The harsh reality here is that life-changing connections do not just maintain themselves. You have to put real skin in the game. You have to be totally willing to fly across the entire country just to be in the same room to celebrate someone you admire. We have to stop keeping relationships so transactional and surface level just because it feels safe and easy. You got to put your money and your intentional time behind actually showing up. Because when you do that, incredible things happen. Dan shares this deeply emotional story about genuinely connecting with John Maxwell. If you don't know him, John is an absolute legend in the leadership space. He's written over 90 books. Anyway, Dan was totally blown away by John's impact and just asked him, "How do you do it?" And John replied with something that completely shifted Dan's entire perspective. He said, "I have goals that are God-sized goals. They're beyond my ability to know how to do them." John's goals were so incredibly massive that they were essentially the ceiling of his floor. In that exact moment, Dan realized he was thinking way, way too small. He was under-indexing his own life up until he stepped into that room. Having a powerful mentor like that, it feels exactly like wearing a cape. It gives you this absolute superpower level of confidence to go out and take bolder risks. And because Dan had consistently invested in that relationship, with zero specific outcome in mind, by the way, John Maxwell not only gave him life-changing advice, but he graciously offered to write the foreword to Dan's new book. That kind of serendipity, that magic, it only happens when you store up genuine connection way before you ever need it to show up.
All right, as we wrap up this explainer, let's quickly hit the ultimate takeaways one more time. Number 1. Relationships are absolutely the highest form of leverage you can possibly have in business and in life. Number 2, embrace the new era of networking. Add value, put out great stuff, and let your content network for you while you sleep. And number 3, literally put people on your goals list. Decide exactly who you want to meet and actively invest your time and your money into making it happen. Outside of investing in AI, people are hands down the absolute best investment you can make this year.
So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really challenge you today. Look around at your circle right now. Who is setting your invisible ceiling today, and what plane ticket are you going to buy tomorrow to finally break through it?